Across the burning sky, the alien rider of the Draconian Empire. The sky burned red that evening, as if the world itself were on fire. From horizon to horizon, a sea of crimson clouds rolled above the mountains of Draconia, the empire of dragons and riders. The scent of ash and thunder filled the air. It was said that whenever the sky turned to fire, destiny stirred. Atop the highest peak of Mount Rhaegon, the royal dragon riders gathered. The wind howled through their armor as the dragons beneath them rumbled with unease. Something beyond the stars was descending, and even the dragons, proud and fearless, felt its presence like a chill in their bones. Commander Lyra of the Draconian Guard tightened her grip on the reins of her dragon, Serath. Her silver eyes scanned the clouds. She was known as the Flame Seer, a warrior who never turned from battle. Yet tonight, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: uncertainty. "Serath," she whispered, her voice steady but low. "Do you feel it too?" The dragon's voice rumbled through her mind. "Yes, rider." The sky trembles. Something falls from beyond the stars. Then the light appeared. A streak of blinding gold tore through the red heavens, falling like a burning spear. It roared as it pierced the clouds and crashed into the northern desert with a thunderous shock that shook the mountains. A wall of wind and sand swept through the empire, scattering dragons from the air. Lyra steadied herself, eyes blazing with curiosity and dread. "That was no star," said Captain Theron beside her, his dragon's scales glowing faintly blue. "It moved like a ship, like something alive." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Then it is not of this world." The riders turned toward her for orders. The flames in the sky slowly dimmed, leaving only a dark trail of smoke reaching toward the stars. "Prepare the flight," Lyra commanded. "We ride north by dawn. Whatever fell from the heavens, it belongs to us now." By morning, the desert stretched endlessly before them, golden and silent. The sun burned fiercely, but the air carried an eerie stillness. Lyra's squad, 10 riders, each bonded to their dragon since birth, moved through the wasteland, following the trail of blackened glass where the impact had melted sand into stone. When they reached the crater, they stopped in awe. At its center lay a massive, metallic structure, half buried in the earth, like a creature of iron and flame. It shimmered faintly with blue light, unlike anything from Draconia. Strange symbols glowed along its hull, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Theron dismounted and approached cautiously, his boots sinking into the scorched sand. "What manner of beast is this?" he muttered. "A dragon of steel?" "No," Lyra said, stepping beside him. "A vessel, a ship." She ran her hand along the metal, feeling warmth beneath it. Suddenly, the surface rippled, and a faint hiss escaped from within. The riders drew their blades. Serath crouched low, smoke curling from her nostrils. Then the hatch opened. A figure stumbled out, wrapped in a dark suit of smooth silver. The being's movements were unsteady, but its form, tall, lean, almost human, shone beneath the rising sun. When it lifted its head, its eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light, not gold, not blue, but shifting between both like living fire. Lyra took a cautious step forward, her hand near her sword. "Identify yourself," she said, her voice echoing through the silent desert. The figure looked around, blinking as if blinded by the brightness. Then it spoke, the words broken, the tone soft but alien. "This is not my world," Theron hissed. "It speaks our tongue." "Barely," Lyra replied. She studied the creature. "Who are you?" The being hesitated, as though searching for the right words. "I am Kale, of the Astro Dominion. My ship fell through the burning sky." The name meant nothing to them, but the words "fell" and "sky" stirred whispers among the riders. Lyra stepped closer, her gaze sharp. "You are far from home, Kale of the Astro Dominion. You stand in the heart of the Draconian Empire, the land of dragons and fire." Kale looked up at the dragons circling above, awe flickering in his strange eyes. "I came seeking the Riders of Flame. A message was sent from your stars." A cry for help. Lyra frowned. A message? We sent no call to the stars. Cale swayed, his body trembling as sparks of blue light flickered across his armor. Not from your kind, from something beneath your mountains. Something ancient. Before Lyra could question further, the ground beneath them shuddered. A deep rumble echoed across the desert. The dragons roared in alarm, their wings beating against a sudden wave of heat rising from below. Cracks split the ground inside the crater. From within, a burning light erupted, red and molten alive. The sand melted away as a massive shape began to rise, scales of obsidian, eyes of fire. Lyra's heart froze. By the gods, it can't be. Theron drew his sword. The legends were true. Cale turned to them, voice urgent. You must flee. The signal was not a cry for help, it was a warning. The creature that rose from the depths let out a roar that split the sky in two. Wings of molten fire spread wide, casting shadows for miles. It was a dragon, but not of this age. It was older, darker, one that had slept beneath the sands since the first flame. The alien stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. It has awoken because of me. Lyra mounted Serath with lightning speed. Riders, take formation, she shouted. The dragons roared and took to the sky, circling the beast as fire burst from its jaws. The alien stood below, watching in horror as the heavens turned to chaos once more. Lyra looked down at him one last time, their eyes meeting through the storm of ash. You came through the burning sky, Cale of the stars, she shouted. Now fight beside us, or be consumed by the fire you brought. Cale clenched his fists, the blue veins of his armor glowing brighter. Then I shall fight, for both our worlds. The battle began. The sky burned once more, brighter than ever, and the legend of the alien rider of the Draconian Empire was born beneath its flames. The air turned to fire as the ancient dragon rose from the crater. Its wings stretched wider than any castle wall, and molten light dripped from its scales like living lava. The ground burned where it stepped. The desert trembled beneath the beast that time itself had forgotten. Lyra's dragon, Serath, roared defiantly and shot upward into the crimson clouds. 10 other dragons followed, their wings carving through the heat. The riders tightened their grips, blades drawn, armor glowing faintly under the reflection of the inferno below. Cale stood at the center of the crater, watching in disbelief. He had seen wars fought across galaxies, creatures born from stars, and machines that could consume worlds, but nothing like this. This was raw, ancient power. Lyra's voice echoed through the wind. Theron, flank its right wing. Mara, cover the north wind. Keep it from escaping the desert. Her commands rang clear, and the riders obeyed without hesitation. Fire filled the sky as the dragons attacked in formation. Streams of flame and bursts of lightning collided with the beast's molten scales. But the creature only grew stronger. It roared, a sound so deep that the mountains themselves cracked. A shock wave rippled outward, sending dragons spinning through the air. Sand became glass. The wind turned white-hot. Cale shielded his face, the light of his armor flickering violently. He pressed a hand to the side of his head. No, this shouldn't have happened. The seal was never meant to break. Lyra heard him over the roar of battle. Seal? What seal? She shouted as Serath banked sharply to avoid a column of fire. Cale looked up, his voice desperate. That creature, your ancestors imprisoned it ages ago. Its name is Ignathar, the Fire Titan. My people detected its energy across the stars. We came to ensure it never awoke. Lyra's blood ran cold. And instead, you fell from the sky and broke the very prison that held it. Cale looked down, guilt written in his eyes. Then I will undo what I have done. The alien raised his hand, and his armor responded. The blue light that pulsed through it spread outward in lines, forming a shape above his palm, a weapon made of pure energy, long and curved like a dragon's claw. He sprinted toward the edge of the crater, leaping high into the air. Energy flared around his feet, propelling him upward until he met Lyra in midair. For a heartbeat, She saw the reflection of 1,000 stars in his armor. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Fulfilling a promise," he said, and plunged straight toward Ignather. The alien's body blazed with light as he struck the fire titan's chest. The impact sent waves of energy rippling through the sky. Ignather roared, its molten scales cracking where the energy touched. Lyra's eyes widened. "He's fighting it." Theron swooped low on his dragon, slicing across one of the beast's wings. Lava splattered like blood. "Then, let's not waste the chance." Serath dove beside Kael, flames surging from her throat. The combined force of dragon fire and alien energy burned brighter than the sun. For the first time, Ignather stumbled backward. But victory was short-lived. The fire titan opened its mouth and released a blinding wave of heat. Dragons screamed as the air itself caught fire. Lyra's world turned white. The sound vanished, replaced by a ringing void. When her vision cleared, she saw chaos. 3 riders were down. 1 dragon lay broken among the burning sands. "Fall back," she cried. "Regroup at the ridge." The surviving dragons retreated, wings beating furiously as they escaped the blast zone. Lyra looked down for Kael, fearing the worst, but he was still standing, surrounded by shimmering energy that shielded him from the flames. He looked up at her, his voice strained. "Its power feeds from the earth itself. Every moment it breathes, it grows stronger." Lyra landed near him, Serath lowering her head protectively. "Then we cut off its source," she said firmly. "If it draws power from the ground, we bring it to the sky." Kael met her gaze. "You mean lift it?" "Yes," she said, determination burning in her eyes. "Dragons can rise higher than any creature. But to carry something that massive..." Kael finished her thought. "You'd need every dragon in your empire." She nodded grimly. "And even that might not be enough." By dusk, the survivors had gathered on the edge of the burning desert. The sky was painted in blood-red clouds, and Ignather's shadow loomed large against the horizon. Theron's face was streaked with soot. "We lost Mara and 2 dragons," he said softly. "The Titan is moving east, toward the capital." Lyra's heart clenched. The capital of Draconia lay beyond the mountains, where thousands lived and the ancient dragon throne stood. "If it reaches the heartlands," she said, "it will burn everything we've ever known." Kael approached, the faint hum of his armor cutting through the silence. "I have a plan," he said. "But it requires something from you." Lyra looked at him warily. "And what would that be?" He held up a small device, glowing blue. "Your bond with your dragon. I can amplify its energy, merge it with mine. But it will come at a cost." Serath growled softly, her eyes glowing as she sensed danger. Lyra frowned. "What cost?" Kael hesitated. "The fusion may not separate. You and your dragon could become something else. A being neither dragon nor human. A creature of fire and light." The riders fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. Theron stepped forward. "You can't ask her to sacrifice her soul." Kael's voice was calm, though sorrow lingered beneath it. "If we do nothing, your empire will burn. But if Lyra accepts, she could match the Titan's power long enough to stop it." Lyra said nothing for a long time. She stared into the burning sky, her mind racing through memories of her people, her soldiers, the oath she took when she became commander of the Draconian Guard. Finally, she turned back to Kael. "If this is what it takes to save our world, then I accept." Theron's eyes widened. "Lyra, no. It's my choice," she said firmly. "Serath and I are one. We will face the fire together." Serath's voice rumbled in her mind. "Then let us burn brighter than the sun, Rider." Kael nodded, lifting the glowing device. "Then let the bond be reborn." He placed it between Lyra's hands. A surge of blue and gold energy erupted, wrapping around her and Serath. The sky flashed white, and the air vibrated with power. Kael stepped back, shielding his eyes as lightning struck the sand around them. The glow intensified until Lyra and Serath were no longer separate forms, but one radiant being of flame and wings, with eyes like molten stars. The others stared in awe. Theron whispered. She's become the Fire Rider. Lyra's new voice echoed through the burning air, powerful yet calm. I can feel it, Kale. The fire, the sky, everything. Kale looked up at her with wonder. Then let us end this, together. The newly born Fire Rider spread her blazing wings, and Kale leapt into the air beside her, his armor glowing brighter than ever. Above them, the Fire Titan roared across the desert, its molten shadow rising toward the mountains. The battle for the Draconian Empire was far from over. But now, the fire had found its match. Dawn rose over the burning desert, but it was no peaceful sunrise. The twin suns of Draconia bled light across a land scarred by fire and ruin. Smoke coiled toward the heavens, and the earth trembled beneath the weight of the awakening Titan. Ignathar, the Fire Titan, had begun its slow march toward the east, toward the capital of the Draconian Empire. Each step left rivers of molten rock behind, turning the desert into a sea of flame. From above, Lyra, now one with her dragon, Serath, soared like a living star. Her body was no longer flesh alone. It burned with the brilliance of two souls bound in fire. Her wings were made of light, her eyes twin embers that reflected both rage and hope. Below her flew Kale, his armor brighter than ever, thrusters glowing like miniature suns. Together, they were a force of flame and energy, the last hope against a creature born before history itself. Kale's voice crackled through the air as they flew side by side. Ignathar draws power from the molten veins beneath the earth. If we can sever its connection, we weaken it. Lyra nodded, her voice echoing with power. Then we strike at its heart. But we'll need every dragon in the skies to hold it down. Already called, Kale said, pointing toward the horizon. From beyond the dunes, a storm of wings rose. Hundreds of dragons, great and small, each rider bearing the banner of the Draconian Empire. Their roars filled the heavens like thunder. Theron led the formation, his dragon crackling with lightning. Commander Lyra, he called, though his voice trembled with awe, the skies are yours to command. Lyra's blazing form hovered above them, radiant and terrible. Then hear my words, riders of flame, she shouted. Her voice carried across the desert like rolling thunder. Today, we fight not for glory, but for survival. The Titan rises to consume our world, but we are Draconians, born from flame, bound by fire. Let the skies remember who we are. The dragons roared in answer, the sound shaking the heavens. Kale raised his hand, blue energy swirling around it. For the worlds beyond, for all who share the light. And then the storm began. The dragons descended in waves, their flames lighting up the desert. The Fire Titan answered with a roar that shattered stone and melted sand. It unleashed rivers of molten fire that cut through the battlefield like blazing serpents. Lyra led the first strike, diving through the air like a comet. Her wings blazed brighter than the sun's as she struck Ignathar's chest with a beam of pure firelight. The explosion sent shockwaves across the desert. Kale followed, unleashing arcs of blue plasma that cut into the Titan's molten armor. Cracks began to form along its scales, but they closed almost instantly, the creature feeding from the very earth beneath it. It's healing faster than we can harm it, Theron shouted, dodging a blast of flame that turned the sky orange. Kale's eyes flickered with realization. Then we stop it from feeding. He shot upward, energy streaming from his armor, and began to draw lines of light across the sky. A pattern, a symbol, something ancient and mathematical. Lyra looked up. What are you doing? Creating a gravity seal, Kale replied, his voice strained. If I complete this pattern, it'll lift the creature, cut it off from the ground. But I'll need you to hold it down until the seal activates. Lyra's fiery eyes hardened. Then I'll hold it, even if it costs me everything. The Fire Titan raised its wings, summoning a wall of burning wind. Entire dunes collapsed into molten rivers. Dragons scattered as the air itself became flame. But Lyra did not retreat. She dove straight into the storm, fire streaming behind her like a comet's tail. The heat was unbearable, even for her blazing form, but she pressed on, wings slicing through the inferno. "Serath, hold fast," she cried within their shared mind. "Always, my rider," came the dragon's answer. "We are one flame." Lyra slammed into the Titan's chest, gripping its molten scales with burning hands. The creature roared, thrashing wildly, but she held on. Energy surged through her body, flowing from her heart into her hands, a pulse of golden fire that began to burn through the Titan's armor. Kale, high above, completed the final line of his seal. "Now, Lyra." The sky calls. Light erupted across the battlefield. The ground beneath Ignather began to glow blue, cracks widening as beams of energy shot upward. The Titan bellowed in rage as its connection to the molten core was severed. It rose, slowly, lifted by an unseen force. Its claws tore at the air, its body shaking as the gravity field tore it from the ground. Dragons cheered in triumph, but it was short-lived. Ignather unleashed one final, devastating blast of flame that tore through the formation. Dozens of dragons were thrown from the sky. Lyra's wings faltered as the waves struck her. Kale saw her falling and dove after her, catching her just before she hit the ground. "Stay with me," he shouted. Her voice was weak, fading. "The Titan still lives." Kale looked up. Ignather was struggling in midair, half-trapped within the gravity seal. Its wings flared with fury, shattering part of the pattern. "If it breaks free now," Kale said, "it'll destroy everything." Lyra's eyes flickered open, burning faintly. "Then take me closer." "What?" "Take me to its heart." Kale hesitated, then nodded grimly. "Hold on." They rose together through smoke and light, the world below glowing with molten rivers. Lyra's form shimmered weakly, her energy almost spent. When they reached the Titan's chest once more, Kale saw it, a pulsing, molten core within the creature's chest. The true heart of fire. "That's it," he said softly. "That's where its power begins." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then it ends with me." Before Kale could stop her, she tore free from his grasp and dove into the Titan's chest, her blazing form piercing the molten armor like a sword through glass. "Lyra, no!"
Kale cried.
A blinding explosion followed, gold and crimson merging into one endless flash. The shockwave threw Kale backward, his armor barely holding together. The light spread across the desert, reaching the horizon, reaching the twin suns. The fire titan roared once more, and then fell silent. Its wings turned to ash. Its body, once molten and alive, cooled and cracked. The desert trembled as the giant fell, its final roar echoing through the dying sky. And when the light faded, there was nothing left of the Fire Rider. Only silence. Kale fell to his knees on the scorched sand, his head bowed. "You saved them," he whispered. "You saved us all." The dragons circled above, crying out in sorrow and honor. The suns began to set, painting the sky in hues of gold and blood. Theron landed beside Kale, his face dark with grief. "She's gone, isn't she?" Kale nodded slowly.
"Her body, yes.
But her spirit," he looked toward the glowing horizon. "Her flame burns still. I can feel it." And far in the distance, the ashes of the Titan began to stir, glowing softly, not with the fire of destruction, but with a gentle, golden light. Something new was awakening. Night descended slowly over the burning desert. The wind carried the smell of ash and the faint shimmer of cooling glass. The great fire titan, Ignather, lay motionless, a mountain of dark stone and cracked molten flesh. The sky, though bruised with smoke, revealed faint stars for the first time in weeks. Kale knelt near the edge of the crater, his armor dim and battered. His once brilliant glow had faded, leaving only faint blue lines pulsing weakly across his body. The twin suns had set, and for the first time since his fall from the heavens, the alien felt utterly alone. Lyra was gone. He touched the ground where she had vanished, where her blazing form had entered the Titan's chest, and felt only warmth beneath the sand. "You gave everything," he whispered, his voice trembling. You burned brighter than any star. Theron approached quietly, his dragon landing behind him with a thud. The survivors had gathered. No more than 30 dragons now, their wings scorched, their eyes filled with grief. "Commander Lyra saved us," Theron said softly. "The Titan's dead. The Empire lives." Kale looked up, his expression hollow.
Dead, yes.
But something stirs beneath the surface. "I can feel it." Theron frowned. "You mean Ignathar still breathes?" Kale shook his head.
No.
"Not the Titan. Something else. Something born from her light." The wind shifted. A faint golden glow shimmered over the fallen Titan's chest. At first, it looked like reflected firelight, but it grew brighter, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. The dragon stirred, restless. Serath's shadow was gone, yet the bond between rider and dragon had not truly died. Every creature in the desert could feel it, the call of something ancient and divine. Kale stepped closer, shielding his eyes as the glow expanded into a radiant sphere. From within it came a familiar voice, faint yet clear. "Kale." He froze. "Lyra?" The light flared, and for a moment, he saw her. No longer flesh, no longer bound to a body. She stood at the center of the glow, her form translucent and golden, wings of pure fire spreading wide. Her eyes, warm as dawn, looked down upon him. "I thought I lost you," he said, his voice breaking. "You did not," she replied gently. "Serath and I became one flame, and that flame has not died. The bond between dragon and rider transcends death. I am still here." Theron and the others fell to their knees, bowing their heads. "The Fire Rider," one whispered. "She lives among the stars." Lyra's gaze turned toward the horizon. "Ignathar's death is not the end. Its fire seeps into the heart of Draconia. If it reaches the capital, it will awaken the sleeping forges beneath the throne. The Empire itself will burn." Kale's jaw tightened. "Then we must stop it."
But how?
"You no longer have a body." Her golden light shimmered. "No, but you can carry my flame."
He stepped back, startled.
"What do you mean?" "I can merge with your core," she said softly. "Together, we will wield both powers, the fire of dragons and the light of the stars. Only then can the curse be sealed again." Kale hesitated. "If you enter me, will you still exist?" Lyra smiled faintly. "In you, I will burn. In you, I will fly. And when the sky clears, my voice will still guide the riders." Kale closed his eyes, feeling the weight of her words. Then, slowly, he extended his hand. "Then take my strength, Lyra of the Flame. Together, we end what began beneath the burning sky." The golden sphere expanded, engulfing them both in a blinding blaze. The dragons roared in awe as the desert turned white with light. When the glow faded, Kale was transformed. His armor, once silver and blue, now shimmered with veins of gold and crimson. His eyes burned like twin suns. Energy radiated from his back, forming wings of light that mirrored those of a dragon. Theron shielded his face, astonished. "By the gods, he's become the Flameborn." Kale opened his eyes, and when he spoke, his voice carried two tones, his own and Lyra's, intertwined like harmony and fire. "We are one now. The last flame of Draconia and the light of the stars united." The dragons bowed deeply. Even the sky seemed to tremble as the air filled with the sound of distant thunder. Kale, no, Kale Lyra, turned toward the mountains. A crimson light now glowed faintly beneath the earth in the distance, spreading like veins of molten blood toward the Empire's heart. "The fire moves beneath the land," Kale said grimly. "Ignathar's curse travels underground. We must reach the capital before it breaks through." Theron mounted his dragon, determination returning to his eyes. "Then we ride once more, for the Empire." Kale spread his radiant wings. For the Empire, and for the flame that never dies. By the time they reached the outskirts of the Draconian capital, the night sky burned again, not with fire, but with red lightning. The great city, carved into the mountains, shimmered under a dome of magical energy. The towers gleamed like silver, the forges below humming with life. But beneath that beauty, Cale could sense the corruption spreading. The fire from Ignather's heart had found the old dragon forges, ancient places where the first riders forged their bonds. The very foundation of Draconia was becoming unstable. They landed at the city's gate. The High Council awaited them, elders in flowing robes, their eyes reflecting both awe and fear at the sight of the glowing alien with wings of fire. "Who stands before us?" demanded the Grand Elder. "You were the light of Commander Lyra, yet you are not her." Cale bowed his head. "She lives within me. Her flame and mine are one. Together, we come to warn you. The curse beneath your city is waking." The elders exchanged alarmed looks. Impossible. The forges were sealed after the First Flame War. No power can awaken them. Lyra's voice echoed through Cale, soft but fierce. "Then explain the tremors beneath your feet." A deep rumble shook the hall. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ground beneath the city glowed faintly red. The Grand Elder turned pale. "By the heavens, the heart fire is rising." Cale stepped forward, golden wings flaring. "Then it must be stopped. I will descend into the forge tunnels and seal it myself. But I'll need your help to open the path." Theron stepped beside him. "You won't go alone. Where the Fire Rider leads, the riders follow." Cale gave a faint smile. "Then let the skies bear witness, once more. Tonight, the fire returns to the forge." The gates of the capital opened, revealing a spiral path descending into the heart of the mountain. The heat grew stronger with every step. Cale's armor glowed brighter, responding to the ancient energy below. They entered a vast chamber of glowing stone and molten rivers, a forge the size of a cathedral. At its center stood the heart anvil, pulsing with crimson light. It was the source of all dragon fire in Draconia, and now it burned out of control. Cale's voice grew heavier, tinged with Lyra's tone. "This is it. The Titan's dying flame has merged with the forge's heart. If we do not contain it, the entire empire will erupt." Theron's dragon growled low, uneasy. "Then what do we do?" Cale looked toward the anvil. "We reignite it, but under our command." He spread his wings, golden flames lighting the walls. "Lyra, are you ready?" Her voice echoed within him, warm and resolute. "Always, Cale. Let the last flame burn for those who cannot." They rose together, twin souls within one body, their light shining so brightly that even the molten rivers stilled. Cale placed his hand upon the heart anvil. Golden fire poured from his palm, merging with the crimson energy within. The forge roared to life, brighter than the suns above. The mountain trembled, but this time it was not destruction. It was rebirth. The fire turned from red to gold, and the tremors ceased. The curse had been sealed. The light of the forge spread upward, through the cracks in the mountain, bursting into the night sky like golden dawn. Dragons roared in triumph, their scales shimmering with renewed power. Theron shielded his eyes, tears of relief streaming down his soot-covered face. "She did it," he whispered. "They both did." Cale stood at the center of the light, his wings folding as the energy subsided. He looked exhausted, but peaceful. "Draconia is safe," he said softly. "But the flame within me grows unstable. Lyra's power, it burns too brightly for this body." Lyra's voice echoed faintly, tender but fading. "You must let me go, Cale. My place is here, within the forge, within my people." Cale closed his eyes, his heart heavy. "I will never forget you, nor I you. Across the stars, your name will burn beside mine." The golden light enveloped him once more, and when it faded, Lyra's spirit was gone. Only Cale remained, kneeling before the heart anvil, his armor dim but steady. He bowed his head. "Farewell, Fire Rider." Above him, the forge burned peacefully. The curse was gone, but the legend had only just begun. The first light of dawn broke over the mountains of Draconia. For the first time in generations, the sky was clear, no longer burning, no longer stained by smoke or ash. The twin suns rose together, their light falling upon the capital, the dragons, and the people who had survived the fire. The Empire was quiet, as though holding its breath. The forges that had once threatened to erupt now glowed gently, their flames golden instead of crimson. The heart anvil pulsed steadily beneath the mountain, its energy calm and pure. Cale stood before it, his armor cracked and dim. He had not spoken since Lyra's light had faded into the forge. The hall was empty now. Only the sound of molten rivers echoed softly in the distance. He pressed a hand to the warm stone. "She's part of this world now," he murmured. She became the flame itself. Theron entered quietly behind him, removing his helm. His face bore the marks of exhaustion, but his eyes were proud. "She gave everything," he said softly. "But so did you. You brought her light back when all hope had died." Cale shook his head. "I only carried it. She was the fire that burned." Theron smiled faintly. "Then both of you saved us. And for that, every rider, every dragon, and every soul in Draconia owes you their lives." Cale looked toward the tunnel that led upward. "I came here by accident," he said quietly. "My ship fell through the burning sky. I thought my mission was to stop a disaster. But perhaps it was to find a world worth saving." Theron placed a hand on his shoulder. "And you did. The Draconian Empire stands because of you." Outside, the people had gathered to rebuild. Dragons soared above the capital, their wings catching the morning light. Children pointed to the sky, shouting as the golden fire trails shimmered like ribbons. A great pyre had been built in the city's heart, not for mourning, but for honor. Upon it stood a statue of Lyra, carved from crystal and infused with flame. Her likeness shone brilliantly, her wings spread wide, her gaze turned toward the heavens. Cale stood before it in silence. The Grand Elder approached him, leaning on his staff. "Commander Lyra has become legend," he said softly. "The flame eternal. Her fire guards us even now." Cale bowed his head. "She guards you," he said. "But I must leave. My ship may be broken, but my people will come searching. If they find this world unprepared, it may bring danger to you all." The elder nodded slowly. "You are bound to the stars, Cale of the Dominion. But know this, Draconia will always remember you as one of our own. The alien rider who fought beside dragons beneath the burning sky." Cale smiled faintly. "And I will remember you. The world of fire that taught me what it means to fight not with power, but with purpose." He returned to the desert where it had all begun. The wreckage of his fallen ship still lay there, half buried in the sands, now cooled and silent. The sky above was blue again, painted with the pale shimmer of dawn. Cale placed his hand on the hull, feeling the faint hum of dormant energy. "You're still alive, old friend," he murmured. "Let's see if we can fly again." With the help of a few Draconian engineers, those who had studied the fusion of dragon fire and starlight, the ship's systems were revived. Its engines roared weakly at first, then strengthened, glowing gold instead of blue. Before he left, Theron arrived one last time, riding his dragon. He landed beside Cale and dismounted, his armor gleaming in the rising sun. "You're really going," he said. Cale nodded. "There are still worlds out there that need protection. The Astra Dominion must know that life here endures, that the fire of Draconia burns bright and free." Theron offered a small smile. "And what will you tell them of us?" Cale looked toward the horizon. "I'll tell them that among the stars, I found a world of dragons who flew not for conquest, but for courage, and a woman who taught me that light is strongest when shared." Theron bowed deeply. "Then go, rider of the burning sky. Your flame will never fade from our hearts." Cale clasped his arm in friendship, then stepped into the ship. The hatch sealed with a soft hiss. As the engines ignited, golden fire spread beneath the hull. The sands glowed, reflecting the radiance of the draconian flame. The ship lifted slowly, rising higher and higher until it hovered above the desert. Cale looked down one last time. He could see the city shining in the distance, dragons soaring over the mountains, and the golden glow of the forge burning peacefully below. He touched the pendant around his neck, a fragment of Lyra's armor, fused into his own during their final battle. It pulsed faintly, warm against his chest. Her voice, faint and distant, echoed softly in his mind. Across the burning sky, remember me. I will, he whispered. Always. The ship ascended, cutting through the morning clouds. The dragons below roared, sending a wave of fire and light after him, a farewell flame that stretched across the sky. And as Kale vanished into the heavens, a single streak of gold remained, a trail that crossed the blue horizon like a promise. Years later, children in the capital gathered around the great statue of Lyra. The storytellers spoke of the day when a star fell from the sky and brought with it a warrior of light. They told of the fire rider, the woman who became one with her dragon, and of the alien who carried her flame into the stars. And when the sky burned red at dusk, the dragons would rise, their wings aglow, as if honoring an ancient vow. For it was said that one day, when the skies burned once more, the alien rider would return, his ship blazing gold, his wings of light unfurled, to defend Draconia again. He smiled, watching as a distant world appeared on the horizon. Then let's keep flying, he murmured. For her. For all of them. The ship vanished into the light, leaving behind only a single, glowing trail. A bridge of fire between two worlds.